All right, everybody, welcome to Coffee for Closers. Today, I am joined virtually by our rep over at F&G, Mr. Luke Christenson. We're going to be talking a little bit more about some of the power moves that F&G have moved on, or kind of put into place here with regard to the power accumulator, maybe some of their other products, some of the new commission incentive programs they've got in place. And I'm just so honored to have Mr. Luke here. Luke, thanks for being on the show. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Alex.
So, Luke, a lot of changes came on. I will say there have been some gripes from a few about the bonus or the deferred comp plan kind of go. You guys were kind of the last of the Mohicans holding on to the deferred comp plan, but there's a lot of loyalists out there that are just super excited about the the Balance Asset 5 index that's just launched. Like I was telling you before we came on the air, we just did a whole show about it. I mean, it's exciting stuff. You guys are really for the last 2 years been kind of pushing the industry in a positive direction, and we couldn't be more proud to be working with you guys. So yeah, I mean, let's start with the new Balance Asset 5. I'm always getting these indices wrong, but the Balance Asset 5. Let's talk about it because it was a 2-year product or a 2-year indice, and now it's a 1-year option. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the product and what else is going on at F&G?
Sure. Yeah. Well, thanks again for having me, Alex. It's good to be here. I really like what you're doing with your show. I'll start off by saying in the industry and a world that we're just cramming people with webinars and email blasts, it's refreshing to see some valuable content in this form. So
thank you.
Keep it up, man. F&G's been on a tear. I actually just saw the latest sales reports. It takes a few months for the numbers to come in. But we finished in IMO channel number 3 overall last year, just behind Athene and Allianz. And we were only $500 million behind Allianz in index annuity sales, which to me is just baffling. We were up 20% last year, while the industry on average was down 20%, which we feel very, very fortunate and grateful for. So as you said, we've been making a lot of good moves, a lot of good changes. Changes can mean a couple things, and the changes we've been making, I would argue, are really, really good. And I think a lot of it has to do with some of these strategic partnerships that we've built with some of these investment banks. Blackstone is our partner that manages our investment portfolio. They're the largest alternative asset manager out there, and frankly, gives us a lift and access to things that other companies don't get. And allows us to be a little more competitive with our products. So Balanced Asset 5 is a new index we added to our Power Accumulator product. We partnered again with another big name, this time BlackRock, who's the largest alternative asset manager. And this number just baffles me. They almost have 9 trillion with a T AUM. Number 1 asset manager out there. So we've benefited from the brand and the reputation and the recognition that they have out there in the investment and financial services community. F&G is maybe not the most consumer friendly brand out there today, or not consumer friendly. Because people, if you were to say, "Hey, do you know about F&G?" on the street to somebody, they probably wouldn't know who F&G is. They might know Nationwide, they know the jingle, they might know Pac Life, they see the commercials, the whale. So having a good partnership with a big name like BlackRock, we're really, really proud of that. So it's been out for about a year and a half, the product. It's our number 3 selling product, our quickest selling product. And this new index option, I think is gonna quickly rise in the ranks and probably be our number 2 seller. So we, I guess a few things that are new and different about it. One is, as you mentioned, a lot of the uncapped or alternative indices, whatever you want to call them, are multi-year, 2-year, 3-year. This one, we've got a 1-year option on it. Now we had it with the Balanced Asset 10, just the participation rate wasn't that grabbing. This one, we've got a 1-year strategy with a 90% participation rate that illustrates well. I think that's a strong story. It's something, frankly, we weren't able to fill that niche. So that's a big thing with this new strategy. Another thing is there's multiple options. You can pick a 1-year option. You can pick a 2-year. You can go without a fee, with a fee.
Yeah.
If you go with a fee, you get a better par rate. 3 of those 4 options have a minimum participation rate of 100%. I'll tell you, Alex, what we hear more often than not from our advisors is, yes, the par rate's important. The illustrated rate is important, but what's the renewal rate going to look like down the road? You know, what's the integrity of your company holding these rates?
Right.
People are very smart. You know, they get what's going on, and that's an unfortunate trend that you've seen with some products is they'll offer a really attractive first-year rate, and then a year, 2 year, 3 years down the road, they pull the rug from under you. And as an advisor, that's disheartening. You end up with egg on your face. It makes you look like you made a bad recommendation to the client, and can really hurt your relationship. So we took that feedback very seriously, and we instituted some integrity in the renewal rate. So worst case scenario, think of it as a floor. 3 of those 4 options will never lower that participation rate under 100%.
You know what's interesting about this, when I did the show and I started to compare, I compared a few products, but primarily we were talking about one of the products offered by Atlantic Coast and some other ones as well. But anyway, what I was so drawn to was, the par rates were good. I even liked it with the fee on the Power 5, or on the 5, the Balanced Asset 5. But what was super interesting, I mean, is that when you look at some of the, like you said, I don't know if you saw my interview with Tom Hegna, but one of the things he's popularly said over the years is, you know, what becomes more and more important as you start looking at annuities, it's like the downside to annuities. Well, you're locked into this contract for 10 years where you're going to pay significant fees, right? After a while, if you're going to enter in, like some of the shorter term ones, sure, 3-year, 5-year, maybe it's a little less important. Maybe it's all about rate. Maybe it's everything. But the second you start crossing that 7-year mark, going into the 10-year mark, it becomes almost as much as important. The rates are as important as the guarantor, right? So the guarantee is just as important as the guarantor. And when I start looking at some of these other products that have been out there, it's staggering. And that was kind of what kept, I mean, you're familiar with this, American Equity in the game for so long, and American Equity has fallen off a little bit, but American Equity was great from a renewal rate integrity, and F&G's finding their stability there. A lot of people found that what you guys were doing last year was like, oh geez, they're coming out, they're pushing these great rates and pars and everything. They've got really great products offerings right now, and the rest of the industry was doing terrible. Everything was really kind of poor from a rates perspective. F&G held true to that again this year. They're still got some of the best in the industry out there, and you're putting out more products like the Power Accumulators, the product, but the new indices like the Balanced Asset 5 that are just, I mean, again, great par rates, great options. I mean, the integrity is there now. I mean, at least I've felt very comfortable. The advisors we're working with feel very comfortable with it. So kudos to you guys. I mean, and I do feel like BlackRock, has done a great job for you guys from an indices perspective. You guys are, maybe not even BlackRock. People might be a little less familiar with BlackRock but they're very familiar with iShares, right? And you've got it's even on your shirt right there, right? I can see it. They make the iShares even bigger than the BlackRock logo on that. I can see it plain as day, because when you go to your 401k plan, you log in, like all of the BlackRock offerings are generally in the iShares category, and it's just listed everywhere. You've got 20 different offers from BlackRock all under the iShares brand. And anyway, you guys have done a wonderful job from an industry perspective. I mean, how's the performance? What are you guys expecting out of this? What's the background of the balanced asset for some of our advisors that don't know? What is the balanced asset about? Like, what's the goal there?
Yeah, great question. So I would say this is probably the main reason why we're seeing so much growth in this story. We've got Balanced Asset 5 and Balanced Asset 10. So there's 2 different index options on this Power Accumulator product. And the only difference is really the volatility, 10% volatility versus 5% volatility. Sure. So why people like it so much? It's a very simple, clean, and easy design. It's a 60-40 blend. I don't care who you are as an investor. You probably heard what 60-40 means at some point along the way.
Yep.
So it's so simple to understand, to explain as an advisor. 60% of the portfolio is in equity, and 40% is in the bond. So 60% is in IVV, which is the iShares Core S&P 500 ETF, and then 40% is into TLT, which is a 20-year Treasury ETF. It's as simple as that. The index keeps a 60-40 blend, and there's really no other explanation than that. You see a lot of things. Well, this thing's built on momentum, or this thing's built on modern portfolio theory. We've got that. Modern portfolio theory. It's a great method with our Barclays Trailblazer, kind of our staple strategy. But the feedback we hear more often than not, is it can be kind of confusing. It's kind of complicated to get into some of these explanations with clients. So enter this very simple, easy mechanism of 60-40. That's really all you need to know about how it works. And in terms of what you can expect performance-wise, we're illustrating, I think, a pretty reasonable return on these, between a 5 to 8% illustrated rate over the last 10 calendar years, depending on what option you pick.
Yeah, I mean, we ran an illustration against the best in the industry right now for accumulation products, and it was supreme. I mean, it was wonderful. With and without the fee. I mean, if you take out the fee-based part, like the fee products where you can buy up the par rate or whatever, buy up your spread or buy down your spread, buy up your cap, you take out those fee-based products and you just keep it to true, what can you get for without paying any fee? It was still phenomenal. I mean, it was, that backed by an A-rated company, that backed by a top commission paid company. I mean, it's just that you guys are all around a group or a carrier that I would hitch my wagon to for sure. And I know a lot of our advisors feel the same. So great job there. Maybe we'll shift gears just a tiny bit from the indice, because that is exciting. We'll make sure everybody watching the show gets a copy of the product brochure and some more information about the indice as well, illustration that we ran as well. Let's talk about the deferred comp plan. What happened? What's going on now? What have you guys shifted gears to? I know there's a lot of questions about that.
Yeah, great question. So we made this change here just a few weeks back, and the deferred comp program had been around for 18 years.
Yep.
We switched gears, and we're no longer funding that program, and now we have a new commission bonus program that I'm going to make the argument it's better. I think it is. The reason why we did is a variety of things. The evolving regulatory landscape,
sure,
with DOL, with best interest, the current administration being somewhat of a question mark, and what new regulation is going to be passed. I think the general sentiment is there's going to be more versus less regulation and disclosure down the road. Given also some feedback that we've heard from advisors on, I want more money now versus money later.
Sure.
So I get it. The deferred comp, in order to access it, you basically have to be retired to get that money. It's a retirement account that we were funding.
Right.
But that didn't help an advisor today with their marketing efforts, with their overhead, with, whatever they need that extra cash for. The deferred comp wasn't built for that. Right?
Yeah.
It was built on the back end, not on the front end. And we saw some of our competitors offering commission now incentive programs, American Equity, Scout One, Allianz Scout One, North American Scout One. I know there's others out there. So based on the competitive landscape, based on the feedback of our advisors, we felt that a change was necessary. So now we're really, really excited to offer this new commission bonus program. And it's similarly built to those other programs that I mentioned.
Right.
So based on your level of production, 3 to 5 million, 5 to 10 million, 10 million plus, or the tiers that we look for, we offer a commission bonus. So this one's a little bit different than the other ones. The other ones are mainly pure basis points. Mm-hmm. We're actually offering a commission bonus percentage. So the first tier $3 to $5 million, it's 8% commission bonus.
Okay.
5 to 10 million is a 12% commission bonus. And if you write more than 10, it's a 16% commission bonus on your total commissions earned from F&G.
Right.
So if you're looking for a basis point equivalent, it's about 50, 75, and 100 basis points respectively on those levels. Now, one key difference is depending on what product you're selling, those basis points could be more than that. So we've got products that offer all the way up to 8.5% commission.
Right.
And in the highest tier, I mean, you're looking at over a 1.25% basis point bonus, 10 million plus for that product. So, but yeah, generally speaking, 50, 75, 100 basis points are the kind of basis points that you would get. And it's paid, basically in a commission check February next year. It's retroactive to January 1st.
Gotcha.
So all business you've written this year qualifies, calendar year. All index annuity premium outside of New York qualifies. MIGA doesn't count. But it's a rich plan. I mean, we did the math, and there's a few guys that have been in that deferred comp program for a long time where, it stung a little bit, to be honest.
Sure.
But for the most part, we've got a lot of new advisors writing F&G.
Yeah.
And when you do the math, this new program is rich.
Certainly what I was going to say was a lot of our younger advisors were really excited about jumping in. I mean, and that's what they need. They need more capital. They need that influx, coming in, pay the bills, get off their feet, get into more marketing programs, build their brand out, whatever it might be. So it does help them. And yeah, it was, if I'm thinking about it, was our older guild, the guys that have been like power producers with F&G for a while that were having the fits about it. But I've even seen it take some folks that were, kind of off the F&G train. They've come back to it amongst other reasons, but that was kind of the kicker. It was like, oh, okay, they got a commission incentive in place now. That's awesome, and they weren't necessarily looking for the deferred comp situation. So February 2022 is the payout or whatever for the program. Okay. All right. Well, that's awesome stuff. Let's shift gears to income product. I wanted to talk just a tiny bit about this because this is something that we're going to be doing a head-to-head battle this week with some of the top income products out there. One of the things I love about F&G is the wide scope of offerings, right? There's companies out there that find their niche just in income. There's companies out there that find their niche just in accumulation or in proprietary products or whatever, but you guys have a very, very well-rounded portfolio from MIGAs up to life insurance to obviously 10-year products on the accumulation and on the income side. Talk to us about what product we're looking at when we look at F&G for income. You mentioned to me prior to coming on Accelerator for income. Talk to us a little bit about that product if you can.
Yeah. So Accelerator is actually our number 2 selling product in our portfolio. And we just, newsflash, we just added Balanced Asset 5 to Accelerator.
All right.
So that story we just talked about, now you've got it on our top selling income product. I think, let me just back up a second. Before I go into Accelerator, let me tell you why people like Accelerator and just talk about income products in general. So here's a challenge that we hear loud and clear. We take feedback very seriously from our advisors. It's something I take pride in. Our company takes pride in that when we deliver a product, we don't just say, we think this is going to sell. We try and get feedback from people like Alex, Ryan at Megastar, our top advisors, and say, hey, is this going to work? What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are we missing? So what we've heard loud and clear on income products is, if you're selling a product that has an income rider, what tends to happen is the caps and the upside potential just aren't great, right? There's only 100 pennies in a dollar.
Sure.
And the company is going to put their resources and the value into income.
Generating income.
And generate the most income we can possibly max out, whether it's guaranteed, whether it's hypothetical income. That's where we're going to put our pennies in this dollar towards. And what tends to fall off is the cap rates, the participation rates. The fees tend to be quite a bit higher on those products. So we heard that loud and clear. I think that's why we started to get a lot of buzz and Accelerator here over the last couple of years. You've got some really nice potential income, guaranteed income, but you're not sacrificing the growth as much.
Right.
So you've got really good participation rates. We've got this balanced asset 5 added on there. We have our main staple, I'll call it the Trailblazer strategy on that as well, on that product. And you're not going to, sell a product that has a 2% cap on there. You've got favorable over 100% participation rates on an income rider product.
Right.
Which, when you think about income, you're generating lifetime income. And what happens is if you're taking income, it'll drain the account value. So you need something to replenish those withdrawals, right? You need to feel good about it, at least something that's not just a 2% annual cap, what have you. So I think that's why people like Accelerator. It's got very favorable commission on it. You've got, I mentioned there's 2 different ways that we generate income on Accelerator. One is a 5% compound guaranteed roll-up. So no matter what, think of that as your floor. F&G is going to guarantee a 5% growth rate for income.
Okay.
Now we've also got what's called a multiplier. So if your performance does well, the account, the S&P 500, the market does well, SBA5, the Trailblazer gets some growth, we'll multiply your account value. And we hope that beats the 5% compound. You get the greater of those 2 numbers, 5% or the multiplier, whichever is better. After 10 years, it maxes out at 50%. So just simple math, let's say your account value grew to $100,000 after 10 years. The multiplier would be 50%, or your income base would be $150,000 after that. So, and you also have an income doubler. I know that's an important feature for income rider products. Ours is extremely robust, where it's based on 2 of the 6 activities of daily living, which then opens up the door for not just confinement, nursing home care, assisted living, in-home care would work for that benefit. It's good for qualified dollars.
Yeah.
Joint works for joint payouts. It's available in key states like California, pretty much across the board. There's no 5-year restriction on our doubler. It lasts as long as you have a positive account value. Once your account value is drained, it goes back to the normal payment. So I would argue we've got one of the best ones out there, and I know a lot of people like that feature on income rider products. So yeah, that's Accelerator in a nutshell.
That's awesome. And you know what, to be honest with you, I understand if a product or if a carrier didn't have as robust an option. You don't want to go to a client and be like, oh, we're using this carrier here. I mean, the more products you present, the more confused they are, especially when it's more products from different carriers. It can be, if they need something and they haven't necessarily pinned down if they're going to need this for income or not, then having a product that can do accumulation to a good degree and do some income to a degree is good. But with the Accelerator too, it does a great job on income, and I have yet to see how great it does on the accumulation side. We'll take a look at that here soon, but I'm glad to see that the BA5's on there. I know your Trailblazer's been on there for a long time, so it is exciting. I'm going to try that out. You have my word on that. I'm going to make sure that I look at it from an accumulation perspective. Awesome. But I will say that as an advisor, when you work with F&G or you have a carrier like F&G that has the Accelerator plus the power accumulator, it is not... I mean, it's not but just a tiny bit more effort on your side as a retirement planner to just plan a little bit further to say this is our income money and this is our accumulation money, and we want to protect both of these pots of money from downside risk, whatever. Maybe we've got some other play money that's going to be completely subject to market volatility. That's fine, but that's kind of been my argument to this point. Is like, you don't want to just necessarily use a product that's just kind of this liberal arts degree, kind of a jack of all trades, but a master of none. You do want something that is somewhat of a master at this product with a good, with respect to things that matter like carrier grades, or how reputable is the guarantor, like we mentioned before, but also, I always like to just keep confusion to a minimum when sitting with a client. It's like, this is F&G. We're going to use F&G for both of these. Their customer service is going to be there for both of these. You're going to call one number to talk about both of these policies if you want to. It is nice that you guys have a great product from a power accumulator stance on the accumulation side and the Accelerator on the income side. So I'm going to run it. We'll see how it does for accumulation, but I doubt that it beats the power accumulator. And in that case, then if I were sitting with a client and I needed to, potentially approach them about both situations, I'd be trying to get to the nth degree of what are we going to need for income. Let's make sure we preserve that money in the accelerator, and let's talk about the rest. If we want safe accumulation somewhere else, then that's going to be power accumulator all day for us. But anyway, that's been some of the confusion.
And when you're competing too, I mean, let's be honest. At the end of the day, if products are similar, my income's similar, or my growth is similar, but let's say we're comparing income rider products. Maybe that's that extra edge that people look at F&G. It's that income doubler benefit that this product doesn't have, or
no doubt
these participation rates that are on this product. Maybe you give us a look because of those things.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's kind of been what Megastar's been preaching to the high heavens. And so if any advisors are watching this, I definitely want to make sure we get some more information. It's a big push for us. We've been very, very surprised at what F&G's done. A lot of our advisors are super excited about what F&G's done over the last 2 years. And beyond that, but I think it's become more recognizable in the last 2 years, and I'm sure you'd agree. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. It's already been 30 minutes, and it felt like no time at all, but it's so exciting what you guys are doing. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit more about the BA5 and some of the new commission incentives out there. I know everybody will be excited about that. If you're watching and you have any questions about what we talked about today, there will be a whole slew of information about F&G's product lines, from brochures to more information about the commission incentive, more information about the BA5, and everything else that we talked about today, along with some illustration examples. If you haven't taken a look at F&G, I absolutely urge you to do so. Luke, thanks again for being on the show today. I greatly, greatly appreciate it.
Hey, thanks again for having me, Alex. Appreciate it, my friend.
Yeah, no problem at all. Everybody, we'll see you right here next time on Coffee with Closers. Thanks so much for joining us. Again, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.